Ready?
Yes.
Call to order this, the Monday, September 23rd meeting of the Ellettsville Town Council. Prayer, please.
Thank you. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you just one more time. We thank you for the little town that we serve. We thank you for the people here that we work for. We ask that you be with us tonight, make the decisions that are proper for this town. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Chief.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
No, it's more than that.
I think it's two.
Here. Scott Oldham.
Here.
William Ellis.
Here.
Trevor Sager.
Here.
Dan Swafford.
Here.
Approval of minutes for the regular meeting, September 9th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Action to pay accounts payable, vouchers, and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? First resolution tonight is Resolution 30-2024, transfer of funds and appropriation from MVH restricted to local road and bridge matching grant.
Yes, so this is for the Community Crossings Matching Grant. In 2024, we received $135,582.28, and we are required to provide 25% matching, and so that's the amount that you see before you, the $45,194.10. So we would need to transfer it from the MVH restricted to the local road and bridge matching grant.
Okay. Comments from council?
Was this not put in the budget last year?
When you do your match, they can't spend it out of MVH, they have to spend it out of local roads. So it's a transfer.
Okay,
Because it's the restricted fund that we can transfer around, we just can't pay straight out of it.
gotcha.
Further council questions, comments? Questions or comments from the public? Back to the council for action.
I move to approve Resolution 30-2024, transfer of funds and appropriation from MVH restricted to local road and bridge matching grant.
Second.
Motion second, roll call, please.
Scott Oldham.
Yes.
Dan Swafford.
Yes.
William Ellis.
Yes.
Trevor Sager.
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 31-2024, an additional appropriation for local road and bridge matching grant.
Yes, so this is in conjunction with the previous resolution. We actually need to ask permission from DLGF to spend the full amount. So that will be the $187.7638. And this is an additional appropriation.
Okay. Questions from council? Any from the public? And back to council for action.
I make a motion, we approve Resolution 31-2024, additional appropriations for local roads and bridge matching grant.
Motion second, roll call, please.
Scott Oldham.
Yes.
Dan Swafford.
Yes.
William Ellis.
Yes.
Trevor Sager.
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 34-2024, transfer of funds for lease rental payment to town hall lease rental payment.
Yes, so this is a transfer from the previous lease rental payment that we had for the police and fire bond. We had a surplus in there, and in order to transfer it to our current town hall lease rental, I need permission from the council to do that.
Okay. How much is there that we're transferring?
It is $34,293.15.
Okay. Questions from council? Any from the public? Back to council for action.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 34-2024, transfer of funds for a lease rental payment to Town Hall lease rental payment.
Second.
Motion second, roll call.
Scott Oldham.
Yes.
Dan Swafford.
Yes.
William Ellis.
Yes.
Trevor Sager.
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
There are no ordinances on first reading this evening. There are several on second. The first is the adoption hearing for the 2025 budget, which is ordinance 2024-20 for appropriation and tax rates.
I can take it. Nothing has changed from the previous first reading. I can answer any questions if the council had any questions before they approved it.
Okay. Questions from council?
Yes, I do have a question. And, so the tax rate would be .7579, but with the levy appeal, it would be .5612?
So we advertise high
Okay.
to make sure that we
I just wanna
capture
make sure.
everything.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
And then right behind, I put it in separate because I got the levy appeal later.
Mm-hmm.
That first sheet will show you the estimated 2025 property tax rate.
Yep.
With the levy appeal, it's still going to drop.
Excellent, okay.
Okay. Further questions from council? Questions from the public or comments? Any online? And back to the council.
I move to approve the ordinance 2024-20 for appropriations and tax rates.
And this is part of the adoption hearing for 2025 budget, correct? Okay.
Correct.
Second.
Motion second. Roll call, please.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Dan Swafford,
No.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pam Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next is ordinance 2024-18, ordinance adopting a new Ellettsville personnel policy, repealing Chapter 36 of the Ellettsville Town Code as amended.
Sure, I'll do it. We've been working on a personnel policy for maybe more than 18 months. It's been worked on with staff from all department heads and the clerk's office. And so we have a new personnel policy. I think you all got a copy of it. And if there's any questions, we're glad to answer them best I can.
Okay. Questions from council? Any of the department heads want to speak to this?
Like you said, there's been a lot of hours going through it. I'm sure we'll find a couple little things in it that need to be tweaked after, but we're pretty happy with the way it's going.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the public on this? Seeing none online, we're coming back to the council.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-18, ordinance adopting a new Ellettsville personnel policy and repealing Chapter 36 of the Ellettsville Town Code as amended.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
William Ellis.
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
There is no old business this evening. Is there an Envision Ellettsville update? There's not one of those. Now we're down to new business. First order of new business is excess levy appeal petition and certifications.
So I have this as a separate insert, and then with the green tab, it'll show you exactly the requested appeal amount and the percentage increase request appeal over to the side. I did want to make the council aware, and we have a page from Baker Tilly online also if you have additional questions that I can't answer, that when we did the levy appeal last year and we asked for $320,000, we did not receive that much. It was cut about $12,000 from the DLGF. So we're requesting the full amount of $318,000 because we're going to be putting some in general and in MVH as well as we did last year.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Questions from council or comments?
Denise, do you know have any idea of with the increased AV, just from like building permits, you almost have to think about of 2 years ago, did we get hit with a pretty good amount of new construction around then?
Yes.
Okay, because our AV, even though it went up 16, or what was it, just saw it, 17.2%, I don't believe that existing homes, we didn't have assessments jump. This is like the range of post-COVID, so I think a majority that's new growth, and if we're lowering the rate with that, then we're in really good situation. Okay. All right. I just wanted to see if we'd had a lot of, about 2 years ago. Okay. Do you know any dollar amount? I mean, I didn't ask that in advance, but,
No, I
Yeah.
can email you and let you know.
yeah, okay.
Further questions or comments?
So if we approve this levy appeal, do we know a dollar amount that this would cost the average taxpayer an increase of?
I do not have an exact figure on what each individual taxpayer would get.
No, just an average, just like I mean, I'm not asking you all 6,500 some residents, but
I do not, I don't know if Paige might be able to answer that.
Well, your tax rate is actually going down even with this levy appeal, so technically taxpayers will not be paying more due to this levy appeal. If they pay more in their tax bill, it's because their net assessed value is going up on their property.
All right, but we've already factored in their net assessed value in our top lines. So, I mean, I guess what Dan's trying to ask is the question I ask every year too. How as much is the average homeowner going to pay extra? Correct, Dan?
right.
I'm trying to find that out.
Yeah, I don't know the only way I can answer that is if I knew how much the average increase is to each property owner's property, and I don't have that information. As far as the tax rate is concerned, it is going down, but yes, if the property value goes up on an individual property owner, then they could pay more, but it would not have anything to do with your tax rate, because your tax rate is actually gonna go down.
And see, Dan, that's one of the reasons I asked about the new construction, Dan, because kind of the way in the formula that I factor in the averages, hypothetically, let's say that new growth, actual new construction was about 15% of this 17.2% increase. And I think from what Denise is saying, that's probably not that out of the realm of reality. Would you agree with that? Okay, so that would mean, the rest of it was just stuff being worth more, about 2%. And if we're doing a 1.1% cut, then the average homeowner is going to pay 1 to 3% more than they would this year, if that answers your question.
So if we approve this, they'll be paying how much more? Did you say 1 to 3?
Well, if I'm using just broad, this is the first time I've seen these numbers too, so I haven't gotten the firm numbers to find out how much is new construction. I would need to find out what new construction permits were pulled in 2022 and 2023, but I know that was a tremendously large year for us. And,
If our assessment goes up, it goes up.
well, yeah, you want your assessment to go up because that's part of your individual net worth, which that's not a bad thing. But our rate going down would help minimize any increase. So basically, out of this, the total amount of increase, to really answer your question, we have to find out how much is new growth as opposed to existing properties increasing, what the trending was.
With all due respect, I really appreciate that perspective, but if you remember when we were going through the budgets, we actually had to cut public safety personnel in order to even get close to being somewhat funded.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's saying we don't need the money. What we're saying is, can the taxpayers afford to pay it? And they're not just an open bank. I mean, we have to cut personnel, what do they have to cut?
Well, the thing, I guess, my question, and I think I understand this appropriately from what we just talked about, the only way your property taxes are really going to grow is if the assessor has valued your house at more than what it did last year.
Well, yeah, but it should.
It should. It should
Property
go up
values go up every
to a
year.
certain degree, but if you
Correct.
took a huge increase,
Right. And what we saw right around COVID, that huge increase wasn't because new stuff was being built. It was because your existing homes were worth more.
Because there wasn't
So-
new stuff being built, but
Right.
now there's new stuff being
But
built.
I
so there's an
believe a
offset.
good portion of the 17%, I mean, I would say just back of the napkin calculations, just looking around, most of that 17% is actually new stuff coming on
Right,
board.
right, right.
Because those apartments across from Taco Bell, what is it?
We've had two apartment complexes, two mini storage warehouse complex, and an assisted living on the west side of town that should be in on that.
Right, so that's what I'm
Just
saying, yeah.
right off the top of my head.
So all of that's going to minimize the impact to the overall taxpayer.
Absolutely,
Correct.
yes.
Correct.
Are we actually gonna vote on this tonight, just seeing these numbers, or are we going to
Yes, it's up for vote.
up for vote tonight? Even though we just got these 10 minutes ago.
But we've been talking about it for a month or more since we put the budget.
Well, I understand that, but I haven't seen numbers until now.
It was a part of the budget conversations, and those numbers were always in there. In fact, we're gonna have to redo our budget if you don't pass it.
Other questions from council? Questions, comments from the public? Any online? Got one, Dylan's raised hand, if we can unmute. I'm sorry. Okay, no comments there. Back to the council for action.
Actually, I have one more question.
Sure.
If I may.
Absolutely.
Both Noel and Paige may be able to answer this. If the state, let's say, approves us for the maximum that we're applying for the excess levy, or the levy appeal, are we able to then say, I'm not saying we do this or committing anything to doing it, but are we able to say we don't need that full amount?
I think in your budget, and Noel can correct me if I'm wrong, but you have provided enough justification to show the need for that full amount. Your growth is actually, your net assessed value growth is 18.5% for 2025, and which really means that you have a much larger tax base that you need to provide services to. And the reason why this is, like, in my mind, a win-win situation, because you have that larger tax base, you can spread this $318,000 increase over that larger tax base. That means everybody's paying a little bit less, 1.1% less, as a matter of fact. So, yes, you have fully justified the need for this levy increase, and I anticipate that the DLGF will allow the full increase.
But let's assume for argument's sake they do. Could we accept a smaller amount if we chose to?
Oh, that was your question. Yes, you could certainly accept a smaller
Right.
amount.
I know the advice would be not to do that, but I just want to know if we'd still have some say-so in it.
But I think
Yes, you can.
but if we're voting on this for the maximum levy, that's what we're gonna get, correct? I mean, if it's passed tonight, then we will get the 14.7%.
No.
No.
We did it last time.
We did it last
I
year.
was asking her,
Oh, okay.
Paige.
Right. So you're right. Tonight, what is before you is a petition to request this increase. If you decide to move forward with the petition, the DLGF can approve it, but there's a final situation. It's when you get this, it's called a 1782 notice. It's a preliminary budget document. You could at that time say, oh, we don't want the full increase. So there is still time to, I guess, change your mind or reduce it. But what will happen is DLGF will issue an order and say, hey, you're approved for the full increase. They'll finish working your budget, and sometime in November, they're going to send out this preliminary budget document, 1782 notice, and you will at that time have a chance to reduce it if you would like.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions from council? Is there action from council?
I'll make a motion to approve the excess levy appeal petition and certifications.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Dan Swafford,
No.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
No.
motion carries.
Next is an open firefighter position.
We've got a full-time position open. We've done applications, interviews, and testing. And I'd like to bring the name Deanna Henry to you for a contingent offer based on a per physical. She's been with us for 13 years, started out as an intern, then moved to a volunteer, and she's currently part-time.
Okay, so you're asking for the ability to offer contingent employment.
Yes, correct.
Questions from council? Motions from council?
Deanna Henry.
I move that we approve the open firefighters position with Deanna
Henry.
Henry. There we go.
Point of correction. We're extending a conditional offer of employment to Deanna Henry.
Conditional offer,
Correct.
correct.
Pending the perf.
Pending perf. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. When you're ready.
Scott Oldham.
Yes.
Dan Swaffer.
Yes.
William Ellis.
Yes.
Trevor Sager.
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next is a contract with Westler Engineering.
Want to do it?
So, we've talked about all this growth. Mike and I, we sat down with Westler this past week and talked to them about what's going on the west side. Obviously, when the growth comes, we're gonna have to get that, the wastewater transmitted to the sewer plant, and the water obviously needs to, distribution out there. We think that, as much as we think we know what we're doing, we think we might need some professional help from the engineers. And both of these contracts really are not to exceed $10,000, and we give them task orders to say, you know, what's the hydraulics of moving a force main to here, or gravity. There's, in the annexation out there, there's a couple subdivisions that may be going in, and that's basically all it's for.
These are what we call quick contracts, just to get us started, like Jeff said. In the future, when we do some studies for 10, 5, 10, even 20 years out on how we build out our infrastructure going west, then there'll be a need for a more complicated contract and duties from put out to the engineers for us to, you know, actually lay out plans.
So is this more of a retainer contract, or?
It is.
Okay, just to be clear.
And
We
Jeff,
just, we,
how much?
not to exceed 10,000 for both water and wastewater. We just got a lot of activity on the west side, and things like a regional lift station, and like Jeff said, one of our important subjects is how to transmit the wastewater from the west side. Technically, we can hook onto some of our existing systems now and take care of existing needs. But with the new annexed property, if it comes into play, we're talking almost 400 more acres. We still got the Smithville property, that's 240 acres. And now we have another group that's looking at bringing in several more acres real soon into annexation. So it could go from a small need to a large need, and we need to be able to talk to them and let them bill some hours to give us some immediate answers so we can stay ahead of our growth. I mean, we'll be talking everything from a regional lift station to a new water tank. I mean, just so you know, I mean, we use about 1 million gallons of water a day now. We used to use average 5 years ago was like 800,000 gallons. Now we're at 1 million. IDEM likes to see about 1.5 days storage, so we're really due for a new water tank now. I mean, it's just the way things go. So this contract will get us in the door, be able to talk to them and have them do preliminary work for us. And then eventually you'll see other contracts. We'll probably go to Westler Engineering once we establish that relationship and have larger contracts for larger projects.
Questions from council?
Yes, I do. Either one of you can answer it. So this is just for wastewater only, right? I mean, 'cause
No.
like, no.
Water and wastewater.
Well, Doesn't Wilmington take care of the water since we get it from them?
Wilmington supplies us with water. We have a contract. We buy X number of gallons a year from them. And once it hits our master meters, that's on the outskirts of town. One's on Woodyard and Loesch. One's on Smith and Woodyard. And the big one, our big connection, our original connection is at Maple Grove and Arlington Road. And once it passes through those meters, it's up to us to transmit it, store it, and distribute it.
Okay.
Other questions from council? Anything from the public on this? Back to council.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Wessler Engineering.
Second.
Motion second, when you're ready.
Just for clarity, this is for both contracts, correct? For the water and the wastewater?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Scott Oldham?
Yes.
Dan Swafford?
Yes.
William Ellis?
Yes.
Trevor Sager?
Yes.
Pamela Samples?
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next on the agenda is request to order a 2025 Kenworth tandem triaxle with snowplow.
I guess that'd be me. We're wanting to request to proceed with the ordering process for a new tandem axle dump truck. It will be used to replace a 1998 Chevrolet Tandem and a 2006 Ford single axle, both 26 and 18 years old. With doing this, it'll be a little bit of a savings for the town, replacing this tandem with these two trucks, or using this to replace the two trucks. Right now, if I can get it on the list to order right now, we could possibly get it by around April or May. So I'll be coming back to you in about February. I've already went with the town administrator, with the town clerk. We've got the money to be able to finance it. It'll be split between sewer, water, local roads and street, and storm. And like I said, I'll come back to you guys in February to try to do the financing, set the financing up.
Okay.
So
How
since
much-
I'm like 7 months out, that's the reason why I'm wanting to try to get it started now.
How much is this?
$244,860. And that's completely set up with snow plow, slide-in sand spreader.
Okay. Just out of interest, how many snowplows do we have currently?
We got 3 single axles, 3 550s, and then we do run a couple pickup trucks.
Okay.
And then, and right now, we're not plowing all of some of the subdivisions right now because they're still under the contractor. So we're growing more. When I started here almost 5 years ago, we were only plowing with like 4 vehicles. We're up to about 7 or 8 plowing now.
I'd add that this truck will be used for sludge hauling, construction, and we're kind of out of balance right now because both our tracks completely failed us that we had, and our tandem has got to the point now where we can't utilize it because it's 1998
Can't get
truck.
parts-
Yeah,
can't get parts for it.
parts or anything. It's cost us. So we kind of got caught with our pants down when the tracks will completely failed us. I mean, it's a boat anchor.
Well, just we keep talking about growth, 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 and here we are yet again, barely keeping up.
Correct.
Yes.
All right. Other questions from council? Okay. Is there motions from council?
I move to approve the request to order the 2025 Kenworth tandem triaxle with the snowplow.
Second.
Motion second, when you're ready.
Scott Oldham?
Yes.
Dan Swafford?
Yes.
William Ellis?
Yes.
Trevor Sager?
Yes.
Pamela Samples?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next is the redevelopment commission board.
Do you want me to start?
Sure.
Okay, well, help me out, Darla, anytime you want. We're talking about forming a couple TIF areas because of our growth and because the second TIF would be downtown, and we'd like to utilize money from improvements to the downtown to revitalize the downtown. But before we can do a TIF, we have to have a redevelopment commission board. And so I've been sending you guys emails about the makeup of the board. I believe the law or the code says the president appoints 3 members, and the board in general appoints the other 2, and then there'll be a 6th non-voting member from the school. So I've sent you names. I can read them out, or you can take it from there.
Well, I believe as we set, and we'd come to an agreement, we had a long discussion about this, to kind of, I don't know, as we wade into this, to get some clarity on it, a little bit of continuing buy-in or control from council, that in my position, I would nominate the two council people that do not sit on planning, which in this case would be Councilmember Sager and Councilmember Ellis. And then you have to help me with his first name. Dr. Hash?
Dr. Gary Hash.
Gary Hash has agreed to serve on the redevelopment commission as far as my appointments. So those would be my 3. And then council had 2 other names?
And
Yes.
as president, you also appoint the non-voting member. that's from the
Right,
school board or
which-
recommended by the
And that would be
Which
Dana
would
Kerr,
Dana Kerr as on the recommendation of the school board. Or the superintendent, I apologize.
superintendent.
Yes. And council, do you have the 2 other names?
I know one, Carl Thurman.
Carl Thurman and Tom Corman.
Okay. Now, since it's a council vote, do you guys want to vote on that, or or by acquiescence, are you all good with those names?
I'm good with them.
Darla, are you okay with that?
Yes, I would go ahead and do a formal vote, though, if you wouldn't
On
mind.
all of them, or?
Just those 2, the last 2.
Okay. So on those 2 names, is there a motion to appoint Mr. Corman and
Carl
Mr.
Thurman.
to
Tom
our
Corman.
redevelopment commission?
Carl
I will
Thurman.
make a motion to appoint Carl Thurman and Tom Corman to the redevelopment commission for Ellettsville.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Scott Oldham,
Abstain.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
By statute, your board is required to meet within 30 days of being appointed.
So Mike, do you want to handle moving forward with them and getting them scheduled?
Yeah, we'll send out an email and start getting some dates. And
Okay.
we'll go from there.
All right. If you wouldn't mind, just report back at some point as to when it's going. That way the public's kept informed.
As soon as we know a day, that was the board.
Perfect.
All right.
Now we're going to move to a discussion on rural transit. Who has this?
I think Commissioner Julie Thomas wants to speak on this.
I'll be clearer without the mask. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for considering this item today. I'm Julie Thomas. I'm president of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners. And we're here to talk about transit, much like we did for the current year. As you all remember, in 2023, I believe, NDOT changed the map, indicating that parts of the county that rural transit was serving were now considered quote-unquote urbanized areas. And with that map change, rural transit created a shadow service, and we have been enjoying the fruits of that work, and we appreciate your support. The county paid in, you paid in, and we made it happen. And so I know the folks in Ellettsville are very happy about that. Mr. Connell, the director of Bloomington Transit, sent out a proposal for a number of different routes. These would be set routes, not call-outs, as the shadow service is. The one that incorporates Ellettsville, it runs from Bloomington to Ellettsville via State Road 46, would run once an hour. And the cost for that service, according to Bloomington Transit, would be $361,000 for 2025. Now, there is BT access service that comes with that, but only 3/4 of a mile away from the route. It could go farther, but that's what they've set. That is their minimum that they're required to do, and that's what they've offered. They've also offered a route on West 3rd and then a combined route. This route would run once an hour, Monday through Friday, 6:40 a.m., 6:40 p.m. And or your other option, and hopefully you'll consider one of these, is to continue with rural transit shadow service for 2025. And I know Chris Myers is here, and she can provide a lot more detail, granular information. I'll be here to answer questions. The estimated total cost for 2025 total for the shadow service is $156,989.14. That's door-to-door service as they're providing now. Now, Ellettsville would be responsible for approximately 45% of this, for a total of $70,645.11. I just want to check my math. We all know rural transit is amazing. We know that lots of folks in Ellettsville and throughout the county rely on it. It's about getting to jobs, getting to school, getting those vital errands run, pharmacy, grocery, getting to medical appointments, curb-to-curb service with drivers they know and love. And this is important. 5307 money, which is federal money passed through the state to urbanized areas, is not available to be reallocated for 2025. So this is our option, an and/or situation. Hopefully you will choose one to provide some service at least to your residents. As you know, your residents are kind of counting on it, and it's important to them, and I know there are many here who want to speak to this. Now, I do want to add a caveat, if I might. If you do choose to pursue the $70,645.11, which would be 45% of the rural transit shadow service for all of 2025, I would ask that you make that contingent on a county council approval, because the county council will have to pay the other 55%, and they have not voted on this yet. We're actually looking at some options early in October, and hopefully they will make a decision sometime in October. I'm not going to set their calendar. That's their calendar. I know Councilmember Trent Deckard could not be here tonight, but I know he supports this continued service as well. I'm happy to take any questions, and I know that Ms. Myers is here, and she would be great to speak next if you wouldn't mind having her.
Comments for the commissioner? Questions?
Not at this time.
Okay,
but
I'll hang out. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I think Julie covered pretty much the landscape of the situation for the most part, but I certainly can answer any questions for in the weeds about how we've been running the operations of the shadow service, or I call it parallel service. And if you've noticed on your billings, I just kind of wanted to give you an update from January through August. You've had a total of 1,854 trips that were provided for urban to urban area, and that is about 232 on average per month. So we are, quite a bit into the fiscal year for this, and we have, if I'm estimating about the same amount, we actually have probably enough appropriated that could carry over into January, or not be used at all and not be reimbursed, but that's up to the council for sure. It's unfortunate that we're in a situation where we're even having this conversation. Again, we were hoping that there would be some resolution with 5307 funds to be used to support this service one way or the other, and I know that some of the council members here have been involved in some of those discussions throughout the year. But I'm happy to, talk about the logistics of that, and also would like to have, the availability for people who use that service to approach the council and talk about that as well.
Any questions?
No, we'll probably reserve them until.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak to this? If you'd like to speak to this, approach the mic. You have 3 minutes on comments.
Hello?
Hey
So,
there.
I'm Evelyn Stevens, and I've lived in Ellettsville my whole life. I raised my children in Ellettsville. I love Ellettsville. But now, due to my physical condition, I can't drive, and I don't have any family here. And so I depend on rural transit, and it's a very, very wonderful group of people that help us out when we can't do it on our own. And I have never in my life asked for anything, but I do ask for rural transit to help me out sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, if you want to pull the
Some of
mic down to you, maybe
People may
easier.
not know me, Pamela Freeman, but once upon a time, I worked at IU, and I done, janitor work. I'm proud of what I did, but I think this is most important. I don't think we should fool around with it. So that's what I think about it. That it's most important to us people that don't drive anymore.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you all.
Is there anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Mary Vandervoort. I live at the Governor Park Apartments. That used to be Lindsay Hayes Trailer Court. It's assisted living apartments. I come as one voice, but I'm speaking for many. We have many people there that count on the rural transit to get them to and from. I'm one of them. I have special needs where I can't drive. I have to have groceries, and I have to go to my doctor appointments. And the only way I can get there is by rural transit. And me and many other people rely on this, and we need this. It's very important that we have transportation to and from. And I just hope it passes because they've done us such great service, me and so many others. And we need this. We need this bad. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Okay, who online? Russ? Go ahead, Russ.
Good evening, everybody. I am also recently a rural transit user. It has been a very godsend to me getting back and forth to doctors since I have had an injury which prevents me from currently driving. I was waiting to see what the price tag would be before I commented. And if I heard right, it's a little over $70,000 a year. Now, that is a bargain. I have friends in other parts of Indiana who do not have such a service available, and they are literally trying but not have to move because they can't get transportation. And I think rural transit is a heck of a bargain at $70 grand a year. I know we need more firemen, we need more policemen, but think of it, folks. This will help your citizens stay in Ellettsville. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Anyone else? Chris, did you want to speak?
Yes, if there's time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President. Good evening, Council. This is Christopher G. from the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank this fine body for the time tonight. I want to speak in support of Ellettsville investment in funding transportation service through rural transit. The funding is not just a matter of public transportation, it's an investment in our community's health, economic vitality, and quality of life. We all know that Envision Ellettsville calls for responsibility for growth and is vital for the long-term future of our community. As Ellettsville expands, so do the municipal responsibilities that come with We do not get to cherry pick what we get into the business of, and sometimes it picks us. One of the most critical needs for a growing community is accessible, reliable transportation, especially for those who depend on transit to get to their doctor's appointments, grocery stores, and most importantly for the chamber, their jobs. Without sustainable transportation options, many of our residents face barriers that have far-reaching consequences. The investment is a smart use of tax dollars, as the previous testimony alludes to. Funding transit services ensures access to essential service, which prevents larger, more costly problems that the council is going to face down the road. For example, without transportation, people are likely to delay doctor's visits or miss them entirely. The result, preventable health issues escalate, leading to expensive emergency room visits, which place a burden on both families and the healthcare system as a whole. In terms of our workforce, public transportation ensures that residents have a reliable way to get to their jobs. If they can't, we risk displaced workforce, reduced productivity, and business left scrambling to fill positions, further hindering our local economy. When workers can't make their jobs, it directly impacts revenue of local businesses. Many of them are cornerstones of this fine community that is Ellettsville. Which brings us to rural transit, which was proudly housed right here in Ellettsville and has been a steadfast provider of transportation services for years. Chris Meyer knows how to optimize the limited funds, working tirelessly to do so. But as demand for service increases with Ellettsville's growth, rural transit can't do it alone. Additional support from the town will allow them to continue long-cherished services to those who need it the most, enhancing access to healthcare, employment, and basic needs like groceries. If we don't have funds, but it's blown throughout rising healthcare expenses due to missed appointments, emergency runs, and lower quality of life for those unable to use essential services, all come with higher social and financial costs. By making this investment, that we prevent these issues from escalating and ensure the constituents of Ellettsville are better decisions for the future. Incorporating transportation funds in Ellettsville budget is vital for demonstrating the long-term commitment to both well-being of our residents and the sustained growth of our community. Allocating resources annually of firm, reliable transit is not a temporary solution, but rather a fundamental service essential to the town's future success and quality of life. I understand there's limited funds. Budgets in a lot of municipalities are hurting, but we can't afford to overlook this. Fortunately, the town does have healthy reserves to support this initiative, at least in the short term, to establish a long-term funding stream. I strongly urge this fine body to invest in rural transit, and doing so as an investment in Ellettsville's future.
Chris, time's up. Wrap it up,
I
please.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else wants to speak to this? Okay,
There's one person who typed in a response online.
and you'll have to read it, because I'm sorry, I can't see it to read it.
Randy Hostetter said, yes, I second and third everything rural transit is to not support it, is to not support this amazing community. This is very important to us and so many families, especially the disabled. My son is autistic and is not able to drive, but now has a job, rather an internship at Cook Medical. Rural transit is vital to this community. Not supporting this would be an injustice to Ellettsville. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Paul White. I'm a driver for rural transit. There are many things that I've done in my life, and there are many things I've done that have paid me better. I do this, number one, I guess, because I enjoy helping people and seeing people be able to get places where they couldn't otherwise. It's a good thing. I know from our previous discussions that Ellettsville does not have a public transit system derived by at least the council. So I appreciate all the interest, all the dedication, and all the blood, sweat, and tears y'all have done towards seeing that there has been found some funding to help us provide this service to the residents of Ellettsville and this area. So thank you. It's been tough on you, and it's extremely appreciated. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments? be back to the council.
Well, I guess I would just like to say, once again, I think everyone knows my feeling on this, that it is a necessity for our residents to provide some kind of transportation to people that are in need, and that's what we're put in office to do, to watch over our tax dollars and to help our citizens with any needs that come up. And I think something like this is a big need. And I would really plead towards you guys to approve this again. It sounds like even if we do the 74,000, we got a month left over. So there'll probably be some left over at the end of the year we can turn back in. So I'd just like to urge you guys to consider this.
Other comments from council?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we should do it. I think we should, we're a good small community or growing community, and I really think that we should do it and help people. Because that's what usually communities do.
Okay. Anyone else?
While I do agree that this is a needed component of this town, and it feels good to help those in need, I'm just curious, you know, we talk about needing more police, needing more fire. If this wasn't in the budget, and I mean, I am interested in possibly extending this, but we really need to get creative on how this money would become available. And do we have any ideas?
Well, again, kind of back to, not to make this discussion, we just had to go to a levy appeal to even make budget.
Correct. Right.
So that tells us there's really no excess funds there available.
Right.
Because we're also counting on what we return back. And while the town does have reserves, there are reserves there for a reason, and they've been built up over time.
Yeah.
I too would like to see this funded, but there's no way to do that without cutting something.
Right.
You know, I guess, and I don't want to put anybody on the hot seat, but if the county wants to assume what we pay them for animal control and cats, I'd be happy to roll that money into rural transit. Because we're paying county taxes for those as well, just as everybody else is, but yet we still pay for animal control, the vast majority of which goes for turned-in animals, not animal control runs, and for cats TV. So if the county wants to do that, more than happy to roll those funds, which are probably the bulk of that $70,000 into it. But I don't know that that discussion needs to be had.
Right.
But again, I would love to see this funded, but we do not run a transit system. We never have run a transit system, and that's unfortunate. I wish we had the money to do that. But we simply don't, and we warned everyone of that during the last time we had this discussion.
Well, I would say kind of with everybody here, I'm not saying there's no need for it. I just am not seeing where the money's coming from for it. And that's what it comes down to. And I hesitantly even voted for the levy appeal, but as Scott pointed out, just to make our budget, we needed that. It'd be irresponsible of us, long-term, for everybody in the town to spend cash reserves for anything that is a reoccurring expense. I've met with the state. We're working on this, but I don't know where the money would come from. I mean, one of the biggest things I already hear constantly from Ellettsville residents is the amount of taxes they pay. And we all know we're going to have to pay more taxes for jail. I mean, that's kind of out of our control. They're paying 1% now for food and beverage tax. That's about $140,000 a year coming from Ellettsville residents that we don't see anything for. And that could be shifted to the Parks Department in the county, and that money could fund rural transit. But I don't know if the county's willing to have that conversation either. But I'd like to know, because we're very much willing to be creative here. And it's not like our residents aren't putting money in. We are. It's just going to stuff we have no control over.
Any further questions, comments from the council? Dan? seeing none, we'll move now to privilege of the floor.
Oh,
Anyone-
I'm sorry. I thought you asked for comments.
Well, there's nothing here to do unless you're going to make a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve another year of rural transit for 74,000, I'm sorry, I lost the number, $70,642.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, whenever you're ready.
Scott Oldham,
No.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
William Ellis,
No.
Trevor Sager,
No.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
motion denied.
Okay, now moving to privilege of the floor. Anyone having business for the council not part of our normal agenda?
I think I might ask for privilege of floor tonight.
Okay.
Okay, so, as you know, or you've heard, the county and the fire district are talking about moving into Bean Blossom Township. With that, and I'm speaking now as a Bean Blossom Township resident, with that, the proposal on the table probably will bring a serious increase to Bean Blossom Township residents, a new tax, higher tax. And because of the nature of how taxes work, the rest of the county is going to see at least a 5 or 6% increase as well. I've made it known that I think it was a ill-conceived idea from the start. Nobody contacted us and wanted to talk about it ahead of time. We tried to talk to the county. We tried to talk to the fire district about it. And they said, well, they're going to go ahead, full steam ahead, and without any communications with the town. No communications from the county on this. And so our only, as residents, as I understand it, I have to call the auditor tomorrow, we have to do a remonstrance to keep this from happening. The local trustee sent out a yes/no card that says, are you for it, or are you against a new fire district, or are you for better fire protection? As yes or no. As I understand it, the cards meant nothing, and that really, if the county wants to, they can put it on the next time we vote as a referendum. So anyway, I'll be going to the auditor. As I understand, 50 people, if they sign a remonstrance, that it won't go forward. I'm not even sure that's true, but part of my consideration is there's no communications with the county on this. And the county's going to say, well, the fire district is, they work on their own, they're their own entity, but they have to agree to all of their costs and a budget and all that. So I'm just complaining. I'm letting everybody know that if you're in Bean Blossom Township and you want to sign something that says you're against the fire district as it's set up now, taking over Bean Blossom's fire protection, that call me, and I'll come out and I'll come to you and you can sign the paper. During supervisor's comment, I'll talk about this again from the point of view of the town of Ellettsville.
Anyone else with privilege of the floor, business for the council not part of the normal agenda?
The 50 remonstrance petitions get you the hearing before the commissioners.
Thank you.
Which they can still deny it. then, correct?
Pardon me?
Can they still deny the remonstrance?
They can. If you have 50 people who sign the remonstrance petitions, that gets you the hearing. The commissioners can still say yes or no. That just gets you before them, is my understanding how it works.
So if they've already decided, it's an exercise in futility, kind of like with the jail.
Is that it?
That's all I got.
Okay, seeing no other people rising for privilege of the floor, we'll move now to supervisor comments.
So, as I was saying, The fire district,
New hat.
the fire district subject from Ellettsville, town of Ellettsville's point of view is, we've never been communicated to by the county about any of this. Nobody's called us and say, hey, what do you think? How can we work this out? Not unlike 3 other subjects I want to talk about tonight. And so I think that the town of Ellettsville has made a proposal where we would make the runs to Bean Blossom Township. I deal with their water too. And we would do it for 3 years for free. I think we asked for something on year 4 or 5, and every year of the contract, they could, Bean Blossom could break it anytime they wanted to. And I just think, how could they say no to this? We've been running fire runs to Bean Blossom since 1988. Last year we had over 200 runs there. I just think that they're hurrying through this fire district, taking over Bean Blossom, and through some communications and consideration and actually maybe waiting another year or 2 before they do this to decide what they really want to do. I think this is being rushed through. Not unlike the jail, we were informed tonight that they're going to make a proposal to go to North Park, both the Chamber of Commerce of Bloomington and Ellettsville, and quite a few people have tried to contact the county commissioners and let them know we don't think it's a really good idea, and they have time to look at some other options. They say they've run out of time, but they've been working on this since 2008, so I don't know why they don't have more time to communicate with us again and ask what we think, and maybe if they come to us and talk to us like we actually might help them, that would be a good idea. So I'm not going to go into the jail too much. I know we need a jail. I know there's 6 different ways to fix it, but I feel like because they've never built a convention center, because they won't communicate with anybody, and they can't communicate with anybody, and the fact that they've siphoned off $140,000 a year food and beverage tax, which we could have used for transit.
$650,000 so far they've taken from our residents.
Thank you.
And not a penny.
And all I'm asking for is some communications from the county, and they've not talked to us about that either. And they, I'm sure if they are taking so long to build a convention center because they need to, then why aren't they thinking the same way with the jail before they spend a whole lot of money? And they seem to have enough money. They could have come to us, we could have said, our budget, we don't have it this year, can you take care of the buses? We could all communicate that if they'd come to us when they knew we were doing our budget. They watch Cats, they know what we're doing. They have not communicated to us about the buses until just now. So I'm really kind of indignant with how the county is going about the business. I'm not sure they could help or take our help, and it would maybe lead them to some good decision-making, but at least they could contact us, even if they're going to think they're going to tell us what to do. I know this is going to be a surprise for a lot of people, but Ellettsville is actually in Monroe County. And so I just like them to know that I'm a Monroe County resident. I accused the county commissioners of marginalizing all of us county residents. I know it's a fact. I probably know and spend more time with county residents than anybody else in this room, and probably a lot of other people as well. And I know how they feel. I deal with a lot of the rural water companies, and I know how those people feel about how they get taken care of. I feel the same way. And so even as not just a resident of the county, but as a town manager of little old Ellettsville, I feel marginalized by the county commissioners too. So how they go about their business and how they don't communicate and how they seem to want to dictate and sometimes rush to dictate how things go probably has led us to vote and transit down, because we might have been able to work something out, but we didn't get a chance to work anything out. They came to us one meeting, said, hey, can you do this? And we didn't talk the business. I'm pretty sure they have the money to run the county transit. And we don't. I mean, if anybody wants to come and look at our books and look at our budget, and tell me where we can get $70,000, I'm for it. I'm for for any kind of good idea, as long as it's communicated and there's cooperation done.
Mike,
That's it.
just for the public's purposes and ours, and I want to make sure I'm clear on this. We had met with the county a couple times around last year. Remember, we had the Zoom calls with Trent Decker, Julie Thomas, Chris, and a couple other people. Have you been contacted recently? Because I've not been.
I've not.
And this new plan they're talking about that Bloomington proposed, I've not seen it.
I said they didn't contact me about the fire district. They haven't talked to me about the jail, which is going to be right at the entrance, the gateway to Ellettsville, where they want to put it. I know the Chamber of Commerce of Bloomington and the Chamber of Commerce of Ellettsville has went to them with some facts and figures and some options, and I'm pretty sure those have been pushed aside, and I haven't heard from them about the buses, so I'm complaining as a county resident and the town manager.
I feel you, Mike. I hate being surprised too, but it happens. A
Well, I know
lot.
it happens, but
It happens here too. I'm not filled in on a lot of things, so I feel your anger.
okay, I'm done talking.
Okay.
Oh, I will say one other thing. I want to thank Noel and Kelly for working on the personnel policy and all the department heads. This is always a group effort. And the budget, same thing, it's a group effort. And I mean, I can't explain how important it is to have the department heads. So thanks, everybody.
Okay.
I have nothing other than to support what Mike said, and I just feel the same way. I'm a Bean Blossom Township resident, and I just feel like they pushed over us and ignored us to the things we want to do. But thank you, Mike, for expressing your feelings, and they are mine as well.
Sir?
Jeff's like, how much time do we have?
The annual Joe Peden Farm, whatever, big. Festival. Yeah, thank you, festival, a whole bunch of kids. Is this Thursday and Friday, and Ellettsville Fire will be attending there, to show off the trucks and turnout gear and be a kid.
And just a quick note, for those who've not been, that is a tremendous thing that the Peden family does.
Yes.
It is not cheap, and yet every year Joe and his family make sure it happens. And it's, good people is not even close to what's going on there. And they provide a lot, and they do a tremendous service to a whole lot of kids.
Yes.
I can't follow all that. I'm good.
Okay, we're done with supervisor comments, council comments.
Yes, the fire and the police, I'd like to thank you. I know you guys are busy, because I'm outside every morning early on the patio, reading my Bible and listening to sirens. So I don't ever know if they're from you guys or you, but sometimes they go on and on and on. So I know you're busy and it's rough out there for you, so hopefully we can get you some more people to help the load, I guess you'd say.
Thank you. I think next meeting, I'm gonna be coming for some additional funds for some fuel for all those runs, so.
Well, it's
To get through the
understandable
rest of the
because
year.
many times I hear you guys going up and down the road. I can understand it.
Thank you.
Other council comments?
Well, I'll just say that from some conversations that I've heard, that I'm trying to get clarification from the commissioners, and I emailed them, or actually Commissioner Thomas, I was hoping she'd stick around because I would have loved to ask her. I've heard that this Justice Center complex, which we have not had any clear plans of what that means was going to include transitional housing and outpatient services. I wanted some clarification that that is not the case. But as of yet, it's been a week, and I have not heard anything on that. So from one elected official to the other, you think there'd be some consideration to say, hey, this is a nasty rumor going around, that's not the case, or that it is? And it concerns me that I have not had, just what Mike said, I mean, we're the redheaded stepchild of Monroe County, and it just infuriates me because we could get so much more accomplished if we work together. And like I said, it's a sticking point for me. Over $500,000 is going to a friggin' convention center, and we don't even have a say on the board of how that's spent. We could grow to 100,000 people tomorrow, and we'd still have no say on that, but our residents would be paying and paying and paying. And then we have needs, legitimate needs, like rural transit. But instead of addressing it and using some of those funds and shifting stuff around for the Parks Department to pay for that, they feel that it's more important to have a convention center than it is to provide transportation for those most in need. So I'm pretty hot, I really am, because there are so many needs that our residents have. But instead, we're chasing windmills, building a convention center, and they can't even get where is the priorities? That should not even be discussed until the jail's fixed. And that's why when people come down in Ellettsville for the high tax rates and what we're doing, at least we're putting our resources where they need to go, infrastructure. We're not sitting there doing a bond, paying $5 million for a statue or something like that. And the fact is because we have our heads screwed on right. And I just appreciate that we do. And it's tough for me voting for this levy appeal, but Dan, to answer your question, I pulled 2 or 3 assessments while we were talking through all this. Assessments look like they've gone up 1% to 2% for existing homeowners from the ones I spot pulled, and our rate's gone down 1.1%. So right now it looks like a 1% to 3% increase.
And like I said, that information would have been nice to know 5 minutes before a meeting started, so that's why my no vote came into play there.
But I'm off my soapbox.
Anybody else before I make my comment? This is going to seem bad, and I don't want it to be jump on the county night, but it's my turn, so here we go. I desperately want to see some type of transit system here. We don't run a transit system. We told you that last year. We don't have the money to run a transit system. I wish we did. But again, it also seems to kind of play on the same theme. Here we are, it's before us, it's being rushed, do it tonight, when Bloomington Transit is apparently developing something, but yet we don't want to play with Bloomington. Why? Why do we want to rush it through before we hear what Bloomington Transit even has to say, or what they'll provide, or what they can do? I have a real issue with telling us what we're going to do without at least hearing both sides. I don't want to get in the middle of a city-county fight. That's not our fight. Ellettsville's never been in that. That's for those two entities to do with as they want. But to, again, not come forward, particularly after we told you that we're not going to be able to entertain this next year, and yet here we are again being forced, and that's not a good word, but being sought to fund a transportation service that we told you we simply cannot manage. We told you that last year. We funded it through the end of the year by scraping some money together. We had to have a levy appeal to get our budget even flat this year. And to say that the town has reserves, yes, it does have reserves. It has reserves for things like fuel prices that go up, for unexpected things that have to be paid for. Here we are trying to fund a new dump truck, and everybody says, well, isn't that a luxury? It is until your snow doesn't get plowed. It is until that truck doesn't get up and running to take the sludge away from the sewer department. And what do we replace, a 26-year-old vehicle and an 18-year-old vehicle? That's not lap of luxury, folks. That's bare necessities. I wish we had the money to fund it. But here we are trying to fight keeping taxes in line for all of us, not just those people, not just these people, all of us included. And yet, we want to get in a fight. Well, we're not here to fight with anybody. We're here to try and make all of our residents better. I wish we could fund it. But it does kind of send me on the same pattern of, Why are we pushing one solution and not saying look at both? Because we have not heard from Bloomington Transit if they choose to do this. They are the recipients of the 50 whatever money.
Yep.
I don't know what proposal they have. You know, I don't know if they're even going to entertain proposals. I don't know, but to come here tonight and say you need to choose this tonight, again, that's.
Apparently there is a proposal, but I don't think any of us have seen it.
Well, maybe not, but again, when we have one person here saying do it now.
Right.
Again, I would love to help out, but we simply do not have the ability to do that right now. Could that change with some excess levies coming in? Potentially it does. I don't know. But to say choose this one before you even hear the other one is fiscally irresponsible. And quite frankly, it's just unfair. And it puts us in the category of some of the other things we've talked about where we're not communicating either. We're just being told choice A is your only choice. And that doesn't mean choice B is going to be any better. But on the other hand, I think we owe it to everybody to at least entertain it. And if we can't do that one either, we can't do that one. It's just as simple as that. Again, lack of communication seems to be the theme this evening. I'm sure we're just as guilty as other people sometimes, but it doesn't seem that way this evening.
I do want to let people know real quick, I'm sorry, Scott, and this will be quick. I have had conversations with the state, our lawmakers, Bob Heaton, and people there about some type of funding for rural transit. We're still in the talking stages, but no one else has talked to them about it, which it'd be great if everybody came to the table and talked to them about it. But you know what? We'll lead the way.
Wait, so no one from the county went to
Nope,
speak to them?
nope.
You know, guys, I guess I got to say one more thing, and I won't make it long because I could say a lot. But, guys, I totally understand everything, but instead of acting like a upset child about something, we're making our citizens who need this service pay for it. That's what really upsets me. You know,
Dan, they're
you
already
can be
paying for
mad
it.
and point
They are
all.
already paying
I'm
for it.
speaking, please.
I know, but you
You
said
can
something
be
and like
mad.
they didn't.
You can be mad and point fingers all night, but it's the people out there that need our service are the ones that's going to suffer on this, not our egos. And that's all I'm saying.
Well, we could go down this road and argue, but we're not going to go this evening. So is there anyone else that have comments from the council? Okay. Seeing no further items before the agenda of the council, this meeting's adjourned.